How's it going, guys? I'm here to review the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning, the prequel to the 2003 remake.
Don't cry. Shh. Hush, little baby. Don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird.
So this film takes place a few years before the events of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a prequel, like I said. This film takes place on July 1969, and this is during the time of the Vietnam War. As the story tells the origin of Leatherface, how he was born, and how he was pretty much mistreated by society, misunderstood, and of course one day he just had enough and then just start killing people. And not only just that, it was the way he was raised by his family too. So he was born, his mom died, people just threw him in the dumpster because he was a hideous looking baby. And of course one of the family members picks him up, thought that they can raise him, and that's how he's just raised differently. So there's a group of kids, two brothers and their girlfriends. The younger brother doesn't want to go to Vietnam because he's been drafted, but the older brother wants him to come with him because he's doing it for him. And that's where they have a conflict between the two characters, a little drama there. And of course, in the same time, they're getting chased down by the motorcycle gang. They're getting harassed by the motorcycle gang, and they get in a car wreck. So after they get into that car wreck, of course, they're going to get robbed by one of the motorcycle gangs. But of course, Sheriff Hoyt, R. Lee Ermey, comes to the rescue, shoots the gang member. But then that's when things starts to get a little twist up from here.
You're all gonna die.
See what you did.
And this movie was exploring the origin of Sheriff Hoyt, how he becomes the sheriff that we know and love. This movie also explains why the family do what they do, pretty much because Texas lost all its jobs, no money, no economy, just no nothing, pretty much no food, no supply, no jobs, no money, just no anything, if that makes sense, nothing. So the family, like everybody, like every family in that area left Texas to go to the big city, but one family wanted to stay, and that is the Hewitt family, which is the murderous, cannibalistic family that we know and love. They decided to stay and fight for their home and do whatever it takes to survive, and that's why they just kill these groups of people one by one for the meat. So going back to what I said, after Sheriff Hoyt takes the kids in to his crib, he then starts torturing them, of course, and abusing the shit out of them. And then Leatherface chains. You know how these movies go. Like, come on. This shouldn't be a thing. The family tortures these kids, and Leatherface always has to chase them one by one and kills them. That's how it usually goes down. So that's just the plot in a nutshell. So what did I think about this movie? This movie is actually pretty well made. It's not as good as the remake in my opinion, but it is a pretty solid prequel. I just wish they dived deeper into Leatherface's backstory and origin. They kind of did, but it was just more like the first like 5 minutes. You can tell like it was like transitioning too fast from baby to kid to teenager. But I wish the whole movie was like all about that, just developing that storyline slowly, his character development. But instead, it was just kind of like it felt like another Texas Chainsaw Massacre sequel to the 2003 remake more than a prequel. The only thing that was a prequel is how Leatherface became the Leatherface that we know by getting him more driven like mad crazy, or how he gets the skin masks that we know and love, or how, like I said, how the family becomes cannibalistic and how Hoyt becomes the sheriff. Like all that is explained, like I said, in this film. But if you remove all that little ingredients, this movie is basically like a sequel still, but that's just how I felt. I just wish they would have focused more on Leatherface's backstory and origin to feel more like an appropriate prequel. That's just my personal opinion. It's great. I mean, this movie did kind of feel not the 60s, if that makes sense. That was one of the other problems I had with the other one, actually. The remake, even though it took place in 1973, some of the kids wore 70s clothing, but at the same time, they wore like 2003 clothing, if that makes sense. It's like some of the 70s elements are not really there in the remake, But in this movie, same thing. Like the 60s or the late 60s, the 1969 element, it's not here in this movie. The only thing that is the draft, the mention of the Vietnam War, and the hippies. And I guess you can throw in the motorcycle gang, but even then, anyone could be a motorcycle gang now still, but that's just my personal opinion. So, I mean, even though this movie has some flaws with that little aspect, everything else I liked. I liked the story, how it was. I mean, even though it's not the story I would go for, but I still liked it anyways. I love the special effects in this movie. The gore is outstanding. It's really brutal. I mean, if you guys are looking for like more of a gory Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then this is the movie for you. Like, this movie delivers that title, Chainsaw Massacre. Literally, Leatherface kills pretty much everybody, or not everybody, but most people with the chainsaw, which is epic. But if you're looking anything that's not gory and more just thrills and scares, then I probably recommend the original and the remake. Even though the remake had some gore, the remake still relied more on the terrors and the suspense than the prequel or this movie, because this movie just relies more on the, like I said, on the gore and the special effects, in my opinion. But other than that, it looks good. It looks great. It looks beautiful, in my opinion.
It's all about the family. You kids okay?
Where are you taking us? Where are you?
I still prefer the 2003 look of Leatherface, but he does look pretty terrifying in this movie still, especially when he gets his first human skin mask. Yeah, that's when he looks pretty damn scary, but I still prefer the 2003 or the remake look of him. But yeah, he still looks badass and cool in this movie. There's really nothing bad I could say about this film. I wish they just explored Leatherface's origin more, and I just hope that they would have put more time into the late 60s aesthetics, but other than that, everything else is good. I like the acting. The characters is good. Leatherface is badass. The special effects is great. The cinematography is great. The look of this film is great. It has that dread, like brutal, like deserty feel, if that makes sense. But yeah, I like the cinematography in this film, and it's just a solid prequel. So I would rate this film a 7 out of 10. And that was my quick review of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Beginning, 2006. Please leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Come on, boy.
People may not know what we say here tonight. By God, they'll remember what we did.